Welcome to r/RedditRevenge. This is a story of someone getting back at someone with revenge after being wronged. And today we have 3 great stories, so subscribe, hit the like button, and let's begin. The first story. Mid-pandemic, my boss disappeared and leaves a lot of work for his employees. The second story. This guy was just obviously playing me, and I had enough of it. I decided to play with him. The third story. Gas station employee did not return my $7, so she lost customers. And the first story is, lie about having COVID to take 6 weeks off while I do your work for free? I'll throw an all-office party to announce where you really were. Mid-pandemic, my boss disappeared. Just as we were gearing up for our most challenging, time-intensive project in the last 5 years, he dropped off the face of the earth. We kept working for a week or so without him, because everything was virtual, and the virtual work world was still so new, we didn't really need him. We were delegating tasks ourselves and completing things on our own. We spoke to coworkers maybe twice a week. But some decisions were beyond our discretion, so we could not move forward on those aspects of the project until we received a response from him. After about 7 to 10 total days of silence, we called his boss's boss, who informed our team that our boss had COVID so wasn't able to work right now. We took that at face value, of course, sent him letters of well wishes, and didn't bother him with work stuff or ask why he was able to notify his boss but not us. 3 weeks go by, still not a word. We're beginning to discuss amongst ourselves whether or not he's maybe died. We're terrified and horrified and so concerned. We're contemplating calling his extended family. We're sending flowers and care packages to his apartment. Meanwhile, the project has descended into chaos because no leader was appointed in our boss's stead. So we're forced to navigate several layers of bureaucracy in order to accomplish most anything at all. Whereas in the past, he would have just signed off in real time. Around week 4 or 5, one of our coworkers suggests he doesn't really have COVID, but is instead using it as an excuse to take time off. We all jump all over our coworker, asking how he could insinuate something like that, and lamenting about what a tragedy our boss is probably living through. People were chilly to him for days after that. Week 7, we're undertaking a letter-writing campaign to upper management, demanding an acting boss to be appointed while ours is recovering. The project is a month behind schedule. We're all working overtime every day, sometimes on weekends without extra compensation, just to keep up with the cluster F of the boss's sudden absence. Week 8, he finally reappears, logging into a morning meeting as though nothing happened. He looks well-rested, well-fed, and has a tan. Not at all like someone who's just come out the other side of a 6-week respiratory virus. He says something quickly to the effect of, "Yeah, that was brutal. Glad to be better and glad to be back. Let's get to work," but doesn't want to talk about what happened or answer any of our questions like, "Were you in the hospital? What was it like?" etc. Fast forward to about 4 or 5 months after this, my sister sends me a promo for a fairly new reality show. I'd never heard of it, but it's on a major platform, and says, "Isn't this guy a friend of yours or something? I swear I've seen him and you together." I watched the trailer for this show, and lo and behold, there's my boss, participating as a contestant on a reality TV show. It did not take long for me to put the pieces together and realize he took extended leave to go on TV, that he knew he wouldn't otherwise get during this massive project, and lied about it under the guise of a vicious disease that nearly all of us had lost a loved one to. I sit and stew with this information, unsure of how to handle it. I know confronting him won't get me very far, but I can't just do nothing, right? I'm not close enough with any of my colleagues to discuss this with them, and I trust that they wouldn't run off and send an all-company email about it. So I slept on it a few nights, and then the opportunity fell right into my lap. I got an email from corporate encouraging teams still working remotely to plan virtual social functions to keep a collegial culture going and to stay in touch. Among the suggestions were game night, trivia, and watch party. With the premiere of the show only a couple of weeks away, I got busy telling everyone how I'd been meaning to get into this show, and it's so enticing and exciting, basically laying the groundwork to guilt them into coming to an impromptu virtual watch party, off hours. I offered to get special shirts made up and send them to each person's house. Whatever I had to do to get the attention of corporate. Finally, I sent an evite to all my boss's bosses, and any other members of corporate I could justify inviting without making a total A of myself. Because this is entirely virtual, my boss is unable to overhear any of the chatter. He doesn't realize I'm hyping up this show, and he doesn't realize I planned a watch party for it. I wasn't inviting him unless he had the balls to explicitly ask about it. I was hoping he wouldn't have heard about it at all, not until afterwards. That was really the only way this could work. The night comes and I'm screen sharing the show to a whopping 64 people, a huge chunk of my department. Many members of corporate had showed up because I was the only person stupid enough to buy into their virtual social work party scheme, so they felt pressured to support it. I was holding my breath, hoping this would go my way, bracing myself for some kind of curveball, but there wasn't even that dramatic of a buildup. Right at the outset, they introduced the premise, which included the contestants being in a COVID-safe bubble in an exotic location, and gave a brief overview of each contestant. As my boss was introduced, right down to what he did for work, and I could see people register delight and surprise, then go blank, just before sliding into confusion and rage. The chat took a drastic turn from "oh my goodness" and "I knew him when" and all sorts of pithy jokes to a brave member of my team, or perhaps just one pushed a tad too far by all the extra hours he pulled in this D's absence, sent the message, "Wait, when was this filmed?" My audience dropped from 64 to 58 to mid-30s, and by the time the episode was over, it was just me and the other 15 core members of the team. One asked if I'd already known, but some members of the team are very close to the boss, so all I said was, "Well, I definitely do now," and wrapped up the call pretty quickly after that. Perhaps one of the best bonuses is that you could already tell from the episode 1 that the character arc the show assigned to our boss was bumbling idiot. He had his true colors on in full display, and some production massaging up them to the 11th degree. Boss was fired. My good buddy was promoted to his place. I'm an office legend now, especially since no one is 100% sure whether or not it was intentional. And it was also satisfying that it was almost worth the dozens of hours of uncompensated overtime that led to it. Edit. Title should be 8 weeks. I kept not factoring in the first couple of weeks because we weren't suspicious or burdened until the final 6. The second story is, fake me out on a tip, lose your cigarettes. I work as a bartender in a pretty low-key hole-in-the-wall type bar. I get a relatively wide variety of people coming in on a regular basis. Most of them are wonderful, some not so much. Edit. I don't get paid a wage. I work for tips only. Tonight was not the best of nights on the money front. Had to put up with a lot of BS, and had a number of people stiff me for absolutely no reason. Not a big deal. Some nights are just like that. Whatever. In comes this guy towards the middle of the night. He orders his drinks and pays with a $20. As I'm making his drink, he's telling me some story about who knows what. Talking on, and I'm listening and commenting at the right moments, paying him attention. I bring him his change. He pockets it, obviously not going to tip. Like I said, it happens. Not a big deal. I just start breaking away from the conversation and moving on to take care of other customers. Well, once he sees that I'm moving on to take care of other people before he's done with his story, he calls me over as he's pulling a couple of dollars out of his wallet. Cool, I think. He either needs something else or wants to tip me. Either way, I go back over. He's holding the money like he's going to give it to me, but instead of ordering anything, he just continues to tell his story, as other people are waiting to be served. I listen for a minute, figuring he doesn't need anything and just wants to be heard. All this time, he's holding the money like he's going to hand it to me in a second when he's done talking. Once he's finished, I comment, obligatory laugh, and then he just walks away. Now, I normally don't mind the occasional stiffer, and will be just as nice and polite to people that can't tip as those who can. I get it. Sometimes, money is tight and you just want a drink. As a rule, I don't give people any kind of hard time about it, because it all comes out in the wash, you know? I also don't mind listening to people's stories and talking with customers when I'm not busy serving drinks. It's actually one of my favorite parts of the job. But to intentionally taunt me with money to get my attention, and then proceed to waste time, that's next-level rudeness. Cue in the revenge. After his story, he'd walked off to go play pool, leaving his pack of cigarettes and a lighter on the bar. A lot of people leave their empty packs on the bar for me to throw away, so I check it to see if it's empty. Nope, almost a full pack. I leave it and continue on about my business working. More people come in and crowd around where he left his pack of cigarettes. So you know what I did? I took that pack of cigarettes and the lighter and put them behind the bar. He comes back around 30 minutes later. His son is waiting for him in the car to leave, and he's looking for his pack of cigarettes. Have you seen my cigarettes? I left them right here with the lighter. Did anyone pick them up? Sorry, sir, I haven't seen them. Hope you find them. Have a good night. Inward giggle. He continues to look around for a little bit longer, asking me again if I'd seen them, and me again denying. He looks put off, eventually leaves. And then I bum them all out to my other patrons. Sweet, sweet revenge. Moral of the story? Be kind to your service industry workers if you want them to be kind to you. Or watch your own cigarettes. Edit. Just to clarify a few things, first, I don't get paid a wage. I work for tips only. I know it's not the best situation, but I don't really have any other job options right now, and I enjoy my work, so I'm willing to deal. Second, it takes quarters to play pool, which he already had. Third, I actually get great tips and complimented on my service regularly. I've never had a complaint. People come out specifically when I'm working. Management regularly says that I'm their best bartender. Sometimes in the service industry, you just have SH nights, no matter how great you are at your job. I also am regularly just as nice to people whether they tip or not, as stated above, and have often chased down people to return their cigarettes and items regardless of tips. This guy was just obviously playing me, and I had had enough of it. Lastly, I never said it wasn't a D move. I know what I did was morally gray, and I don't make a habit of it, and yes, that is extremely petty. The last story is, Won't give me my money back for the gas you pumped didn't actually pump? Good luck letting anyone buy anything from your store until you do. A couple years back, I stopped to grab fuel for my truck at the same gas station I filled up at once a week. I put my card in and start to pump. I realized immediately that something is wrong. The nozzle starts making a weird noise. Fumes are coming out and the counter runs up to $5 immediately. Okay, the pump is empty. No problem. I'll just run inside and get a refund. Or so I thought. I walk in the store and politely tell the clerk what's going on and that I'd like a refund. She has an SH attitude immediately. She says I need to show her, so she follows me out. I still had the nozzle in my truck, so I pull the handle for half a second, and it does the same thing, and the counter runs up to $7. Okay, you've seen it. Can you please refund my card for the $7? She gives me a dirty look and tells me she's the only one working, and can't do a refund without a manager. At this point, I'm getting peeved. I've already wasted 10 minutes. I'm like, what are you talking about? You can just give me cash if you can't refund the card. She just says that it's not gonna happen. I suggest calling her manager. Nope, he'll be here later and you can come back and just walk back inside to her bulletproof room. Now I'm really mad. It's not the money, it's the principle. At this point, they've stolen from me. I call the non-emergency line for the sheriff's department and they send a deputy. I tell the cop what's going on. He speaks to the attendant and tells me there's nothing that he can do and that it's a civil matter, and the attendant told him the manager will be there in 2 hours and I can come back. Fine. I return to the store 2 hours later. Guess what? No manager. Attendant is sitting behind her bulletproof glass laughing at me. Actually laughing. No idea when the manager will be there, and she's not going to give me my money back. Or so she thought. For the next 45 minutes, I stood in front of the checkout window and turned every customer that walked in away. I probably told the story of what happened to 20 people. Some were peeved that I would not allow them to buy what they needed, but most completely understood and went on their way. At this point, the attendant is screaming at me, calling me every name she can think of, telling me I'm poor because I want that $7 so bad, throwing stuff at the window, just losing her mind. And now I'm laughing my A off. She finally calls the manager and he tells her to give me my money. She crumples up the $7 in ones and shoves it through the slot. What sweet victory that was. Not only did they lose the customers while I was there, but they no longer got to sell me $150 worth of fuel each week. And I've told every family member and friend I know about this, and they all boycotted the store. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell button. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.